Hey everyone, welcome back to KC3D Sparks. Today we are going to be creating a cellar door, kind of looking like a trap door in one of the floor pieces. I hope you guys have been enjoying this series. Just to let you know, there are only going to be maybe a few more episodes for this series, at least consecutively. I'm always open to adding on to more later, but I wanted to start doing a couple other series. So I was going to take a break from this one and maybe venture back to it eventually. Let me know in the comments what you guys have thought of this series so far, what you might want to see in the future, obviously. And yeah, with that, let's go ahead, and you can see over here I already have one of my wall pieces duplicated, so I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate it again and move it to my first available layer so we can start making our door. I'm going to go ahead and move it to the center and focus in on that. Of course, you'll make sure you have your scene set up in the units that you want to work in, and I set my grid to 1/4 of an inch just so you guys know. I'm going to move this so it matches up with the lines. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and tab into edit mode and go into side view. There's a couple different ways you could probably set up this door. I'm going to be making it on this last little piece right here. Obviously you can do whichever piece, or you could do it in the center or wherever you want. But one thing that I'm going to do first is hide this wall, because I'm not going to be doing anything to the wall. So I'm going to make sure nothing's selected, hit Z for wireframe view, and border select all of these edges and just hit H. So that will hide it. I don't have to worry about, accidentally moving anything crazy. Later on, all I have to do is hit, Alt H to unhide it. For now, we'll focus on our floor. Okay. Obviously, for this, I'm going to go ahead and select this box, this top box, and we're going to hit E to extrude. We're going to size it in a little bit because I don't want the trapdoor being exactly the size of our square, but not too much smaller. Maybe about there. We're going to drag that up, so E to extrude, and drag that up to make it bump out, just dramatic enough. Okay, cool. So couple different things. You can either leave it plain as is. Obviously, I wanted to add in some lines for the wood pieces, which is really convenient because I already have the lines from the walls on here. So all I have to do is grab these 6 vertices and I'm gonna drag them down, almost touching there, so that way it's dramatic enough for when I print it, they'll be pretty visible. If you don't have those lines already set up, just Control R and those will add in the loops for you, and you can add as many as you need. Okay, so I wanted to go ahead and do a handle and maybe some slats across, just kind of like we did with the shutters. Also, if you wanted to do some different stones and stuff around the perimeter, I guess you could say, of the door frame itself, you could certainly do that. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to that today. We'll see what happens, but let's focus on the wooden slats first. So I'm going to go ahead and tab out of edit mode. You can see when you tab out of edit mode, your wall automatically unhides, so you know when you're in object mode, oh hey, it is there. It's just hidden when you edit it. Okay, I'm going to do Shift A. I'm going to do a cube. It's, like I said, very similar to what we did with the shutters. Size that along the Z-axis, and then we'll size it along, the Y-axis. Go into top view. Size it up along the X to make it fit. And I'm going to hit Z to go into wireframe view so I can see it exactly. Okay. Shift D. Pull that back. Pull that up. And we want to make sure it does go all the way through. Perfect. So now what we can do is reselect this one here, add modifier, Boolean, change that to union, hit copy. We'll select this first one and the second one. And then we will make sure we hide our two cubes, tab back into edit mode, and make sure it applied properly. Whoops. So go into wireframe view, make sure there's nothing extra, which there's not. It's completely hollow inside still. Perfect. Okay, so for our handle, I wanted to go ahead and add the typical circle with the handle plate, and I wanted to add on some hinges on the back as well. I'm not sure if the hinges are gonna show up when I print it out, but I at least wanna make the effort. Tab back out of edit mode. We'll do Shift A, and we're gonna do cylinder. Rotate that by 90 degrees and size that down. Oh, and actually we're also going to go into top view, hit R, and do another 90. Size that in every direction except for the X axis, and then continue to size it down normally. And kind of like that. Push it more to the side, and I'm going to duplicate that to put it over here as well. Looks good. Shift A, mesh, and a cube again. Go into top view, size that down, grab it, size it down some more, maybe go into wireframe view if it starts to get difficult to see. Place that right in the center. I'm gonna leave it a little large. Like I said, I like to make sure it's kind of over exaggerated, so that way it prints out nicely. Whoop, and then we're gonna bring that down about there. Looks good. Shift A, Taurus. This will be the handle piece, and we'll just go ahead and size that down. Move it into position. Size it down. I realize this is pretty repetitive from some of my other videos. Just thought it'd be cool to go over how to make this, and you know, just to revisit some of the key things I've gone over before. Add another cylinder. Rotate 90. Rotate 90. Just kidding. Undo that last one. And we'll size that down. And this is going to hold the handle in place. Bring them both down. And bring the handle up a little bit. Be more like that. Perfect. So now we can just do the Boolean again. Union. We'll do the hinges first. Make sure that applied properly. They did. Perfect. And next, we'll do this cube. And the Taurus and the last cylinder. Perfect. Like I said, you can add plenty more detail to this if you're interested. One of the things I wouldn't mind considering in the future is adding some sort of like frame around it in stone, but I'm probably not going to do that until I actually decide if I want to texture my floors or not. I know I've gone over how to texture them in previous videos, but I like having them plain for the moment, so I'll probably just leave it as is. But you know, you could shape up some rocks, kind of bullion them around here. You could have them round or kind of more of a square rock or rectangular, you know, whatever you kind of feel like. Probably be easiest to basically add in a cube, size it the way you want, and then take it into sculpt mode to make those stones. Usually that's the way I kind of like to make stones, is in half with the regular edit mode and then the sculpt mode. But you know, that's total personal preference. Last thing I want to do is, if you guys are interested, I'll show you how I quickly just add on some materials to this. If you're interested, I already had some color on the first one just so it wasn't all gray, but I've heard some people asking about materials. So I'm not going to do any textures, but materials itself, what you can do is when you go over to this little circle, this is material, you can click on that. And when you have your object selected, you can go ahead and hit this plus sign here to add a new material. You notice that this already changed a color really quickly. Now, since I already have some color set up, I can hit this menu here to pick out one of the colors that I've already set up. So I'm just gonna hit this color here, which is awesome. But if I wanted to, I could subtract that so it gets rid of my material completely. I could hit a plus sign and hit new if I want to start doing a completely new material. Here is the name. So, I mean, obviously it's already named material. I'm just going to hit new since this is just an example. You can see that it changes, and it also is automatically listed in here as well. And then what you can do is under this diffuse, for this I've been leaving it at Lambert. You can do different ones in here. I'll let you look those different definitions up, but for our purposes Lambert is definitely fine. And then you can just have fun with the shader. Obviously if you have an actual RBG or you have a hex code of the exact color that you want to use, you can do that. Or there's even an eyedropper here, so if there is some other item that you have, you can select that. Like you're like, oh god, I have a million materials in here, you can just do the eyedropper tool and it'll make a new material for you. Intensity obviously messes with the intensity, so if you want it pitch black, that kind of thing, so I'm just gonna leave that. Specular is a little bit of fun because you'll notice the white glare on here. So if you want it more like with the wood, I changed it so it was a little bit more yellow to match with the brown of the wood, because it's not exactly a white. And then you can decrease the intensity so it's not really super shiny, that kind of thing. I realize this doesn't really do anything for 3D printing. I just thought it'd be fun to show you guys what I've been doing for the materials. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that, and I'll just add on this material. And for the floor, since that is a different material that I like to use and to make it separate from the wood planks, I'm going to hit Z for wireframe view. I'm gonna do vertice select, border select all of these floor pieces. Okay, and then what I can do is add a new material, floor, and hit assign. And you'll notice that it changed right away. Perfect. Oh, I missed a little bit there, so obviously I can just do the same thing. I could hit assign, but I'm not going to worry about that. You guys get the gist. And then for the handle and the hinges, I would do the same thing. Just make sure you don't get anything extra. Add a new material, do the rivet color, hit assign. And there you go. So nothing too crazy. You know, if you have any questions, you guys can certainly leave those in the comments below. I'm not too familiar with like different materials and stuff, but you know, I just like to have fun with it. So if I don't know it, I'll definitely look it up for you and see if I can find anything and get back to you as soon as I can. And again, if you guys have any requests, please just post them in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week.